From Abuja, the nation's capital, this is Matters Arising, coming to you live from KAFTAN Television. This flagship talk show of the station features in-depth discussions and analysis of topical and trending national and international issues by our team of seasoned broadcast journalists. Being one of them, I am Maucauley, Hunohashi, saying thank you for joining us. We welcome you to today's episode, which promises to be engaging and informative. You can be a part of the conversation by calling the phone number 08029938365 to be displayed on your screen later. Gentlemen, how has been your day?
Very well.
Very, very well. In what way?
Say again?
In what way? He says.
Oh, very well. We had a calm weather today in the FCT. This morning rain. Unlike other days, the heat, you come out of the house all sweaty, getting ready to go out to go to work. And today it was raining, and even driving to the studio, it was. I liked the way the weather was. Okay. It's calm and good.
And you?
Well, I think it's also been a calm day. You know, this is a rainy season, but you know, everyone is just being careful with you know, what you eat, you know, because of the what they call it now, the cholera outbreak. So people are also being very, very careful, and you know, so these days, you know, normally it's just like when we had the COVID. You know, we started having a changed lifestyle. So currently, again, with the issue of cholera all the place, we were also having a changed lifestyle, being careful about what you eat.
Well, viewers, the only lady in the middle is Elizabeth Sam-Sedi, and he is John Okoro. My name is still Maucauley Hunohashi. And then before we get to the meat of the matter, let's join Sifon Umo for a quick roundup of events and happenings in the polity.
This is the News Roundup. President Bola Tinubu has directed the Federal Executive Council to set up a committee to oversee the Cholera Emergency Operations Center set up by the National Center for Disease Control, NCDC. The Minister of Health, Dr. Ali Pate, disclosed this while briefing State House correspondents at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, on the actions so far taken by government to control the spread of the disease, which has killed over 50 people in the country. The NCDC recently activated a national cholera emergency center following the outbreak of the disease in Nigeria. In a related development, the Federal Executive Council has stepped down a memo on the report of the new minimum wage to give President Bola Tinubu more time to consult with the 36 state governors and the organized private sector before arriving at the figure that will be submitted to the National Assembly as a new executive bill. However, reacting to this development, the head of public relations of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Benson Upa, criticized the failure of the council to consider the memo, noting that stepping down the tripartite committee report creates room for injurious speculations. Now, the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasiru Ahmad El-Rufai, has filed a suit fundamental to the human rights against the Kaduna State House of Assembly over his indictment in the 432 billion naira probe report. The suit, filed at the Federal High Court in Kaduna by his lawyer Abdul Hakim Mustafa SAN, is challenging the House Committee report, which alleged that the former governor was involved in money laundering and other financial infractions during his tenure as governor of Kaduna State. The former governor is also alleging that the House Committee did not give him a fair hearing. Still in Kaduna State, 6 teenagers who were returning from junior WAEC exams have drowned in the Mbang River in Ribang Village, Kauru, local government area of Kaduna State. The National Public Relations Officer of Ribang Development Association, Pastor Simon Ishaku, who confirmed the incident on Wednesday, disclosed that 3 dead bodies have already been recovered and buried, while local divers were still searching for the remaining 3 bodies. And that is all on the News Roundup. I am Sifon Umo.
Welcome back. Foreign debts are monies borrowed by a government, corporation of private household from another country's government or private lenders. Some of the loans may include obligations or what are commonly referred to as conditionalities to international organizations such as the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Nigeria is a developing country that relies heavily on both external and domestic loans for infrastructure development like roads, schools, healthcare, transportation, security, and the many expectations of good governance. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had expressed his resolute commitment to breaking the vicious circle of over-reliance on borrowing for public spending and the resulting burden of debt servicing it places on the government. However, the president may not have matched his words with action, as they have sought to obtain credit facilities from both domestic and external lenders. As the reports say, government is expecting about $4.4 billion in new loans from the IMF and African Development Bank (AFDB). In an interview recently with journalists, precisely in March 2024, the president of African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, revealed that board of directors of the Apex Bank had approved $134 million for Nigeria to implement an emergency food production plan, while talks are also ongoing for a $1.7 billion economic and budget support loan, as well as the launch of $1 billion agro-industrial processes in 28 states of the country. Report made available by the National Bureau of Statistics says Nigeria's debt profile stands at a whopping 121 trillion naira. This, I believe, calls for more concerns. Gentlemen, in the last 12 months, $4.95 billion has pushed the country's public debt to 101 trillion naira. And there are also plans, for additional loans. And the government is expecting $4.4 billion and $750 million from African Development Bank, as well as $700 million for girl child education. Another $750 million for renewable energy. There's another $750 million for resource mobilization, as well as $1.5 billion for economic reform. And these loans are coming under this current the current administration headed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We are not talking about previous loans that government sourced from international lenders under the Buhari regime, and even those that were received before the Buhari regime. If you guys will remember, during Obasanjo, we had debt cancellation through the efforts of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the then Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. And this brings the question: yes, governments have to borrow. You must borrow to augment what you have, so long as you have your productive sector up and running. But the question is, Nigerians are asking, when you hear this humongous amount of money, we keep borrowing, we borrow for schools, we borrow to fix infrastructure such as roads, to provide water for people to drink, we borrow for street lights, we borrow for expectations of good governance. But I feel so worried that when you go around this country, every nook and cranny of Nigeria, you hardly see tangible expectations of good governance that translate into justifiable utilization of all these loans that are being sourced from international lenders. It beats my imagination, John.
Yes, truth be told, there is nothing wrong in borrowing, because that is what we must establish. There is nothing wrong in borrowing, but there is everything wrong when you cannot give account of what you have used the money you have borrowed to do. That's where the problem is. It's not the issue, because all countries in the world, even the countries we call developing countries, the ones we call developed countries, they all borrow. But the difference is that these nations, they borrow to invest in capital projects that will also in turn yield profits. They also borrow to develop infrastructure that will add value to the lives of the citizens.
Another last thing you mentioned, value.
Yes, add value to the lives of the citizenry. When you travel abroad And you see this huge and great infrastructure all over the place. Some of these things were built via borrowed funds. You can bet how, look at it as of this year now, as of this year alone, the total debt stock of the country, just like you mentioned in your intro, 121 trillion naira, $91 billion.
And some of them come with conditionalities.
And now, you know, when this borrowing, kept on coming, and people were like asking, when are we going to pay? Are we going to leave this in for our generations ahead, unborn to pay? And people were also concerned about the debt to GDP ratio.
Exactly.
And they said, there's no problem. We have not reached the red line. We have not reached the dangerous threshold so far. But what about debt to revenue? As we speak now, the servicing of debt takes almost about 75% of our revenue. As we speak today now. That's where the danger lies. Servicing debt alone. Yes. Only this year alone. In fact, do you know that there's a report that just came out recently whereby in the last 5 years, we have spent almost about $15 billion. In fact, in 2023, Nigeria spent $3 billion to service loan. As we speak now, just the first quarter of this year alone, we have spent almost about $1.12 billion to service loans in the country. And what does that mean? A report again from the IMF says that developing country like ours that has now gone to take money as loans, and they are using almost half of the revenue or beyond half of the revenue to pay back these loans and to service the loans. That is going to be difficult to see and have a tangible growth in that country. Because let me give you a typical example now. In our budget, like the last year's budget.
Before you get to that, let's take our first caller. Hello, good evening. Good evening, this is Matters Arising. You are live on Matters Arising. We have lost the caller. Continue on the light.
All right, like the current budget that we have, which is the 2024 Appropriation Act, which is in use as it is now, is about 27.8 trillion naira. That's what it is. Now, Nigeria is projecting 18 trillion as expected revenue.
Yes. And
out of the 18 trillion, the expected debt servicing for this year alone is 8.7 trillion naira. So take away 8.7 trillion naira from 18 trillion that is expected revenue, then you are still going to have about almost 10 trillion naira deficit that we are going to pay.
Okay, we have the caller is here. Elizabeth, hold on. Hello, good evening. This is Matters Arising. You are on. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from, and yeah, we can hear you. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I am Felix from Benue State.
Okay, Felix from Benue State, you are welcome. What's in your mind?
Yeah, you are talking about the loan our country borrowed from outside.
Yes.
We are hearing all over.
Yes, you are right.
Yes. I want to give you a maximum appropriation for that.
Okay, go on.
And again, our country is borrowing money from here and there. Each and every day we have people borrow some serious of naira. Then with the citizens ask, are you getting that, Joe?
Yes, I get you. Loud and clear. Go ahead.
The citizens to ask. The money our president is being borrowed each and every blessed day from the World Bank. Where is he taking the money from? Because the reports have been receiving. We borrow money from child development, infrastructure, good health, primary schools, and everything has been going on in our country. We have been borrowing for. Coming to go around this our country, or go around this our states around, we found that most of the villages has been suffering from all this. We have been hearing on the radio every day, hearing on the news every day. We borrow this amount of money, some billions, $billions. Where is the money being taken to? Because the account has not been given to us as expected. Because had it been the account is given to us, we have been seeing the money which have been borrowed is working for, or where the money is going. We don't see such things. Okay. We are suffering more and more, we as citizens, especially we in the local states.
Okay.
We do call our country a developing country. Where is the development going to? Where is that development going to? Because if you come to some states, in the local villages, we are still suffering more than how we are expected that you people will do.
Okay.
So we are at least expecting you people to give us what we make us, what we engineered us to vote you people next tomorrow.
Okay.
By doing this, how will people vote you people again?
Thank you.
Because when we go on this wrong, you give us a lot of promises. You will do this, you will do this.
Okay. Thank you, Alfred, from Benue State.
We borrow from this, we borrow from this. How will you expect you to be voted again?
Your comments are well taken. Thank you for calling. Elizabeth, he's sharing the same view with us that he has mentioned those areas of intervention, schools, healthcare, roads. He said they are nowhere to be found because loans have been sourced to put them in place for the benefit of Nigerians.
Yes.
The caller is saying where he comes from, he cannot point at anything tangible.
That's right. Governments borrow, just like two of you had earlier emphasized, all right? It's not a bad thing for governments to borrow. They borrow to spend on the public service projects, you know, whereby the revenues and the taxes of the governments are not enough to carry out this project. So it's normal, it's a normal thing. But what bothers me the most is you mentioned a lot of figures, just like you did in your intro. When you hear these trillions and billions being mentioned, it's scary. And yet, when the government come to defend themselves, they tell you that they haven't gotten to the red flag yet, meaning there's still room, it's still okay for them to borrow. And of course, you and I, the common man, will worry to like, okay, when are these debts going to be paid? You had also earlier emphasized how during the regime of former President Obasanjo, when he went about and
hold on that. We'll come back to the studios. Let's take this caller. Good evening. This is Matters Arising. You're welcome. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hello, my name is Hilary. I'm calling from Okoro in Boki local government area, Cross River State.
Okay, Hilary, go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, well, my little comment is that you see, most of these things are causing problems to the country as a result of the politicians. You see one person using up to 7 cars at the time when they are going out, and you take all those things. The money they are giving senators, giving House of Rep members, they are not wasting money on them for nothing. And instead of them looking at how the common man will be able to survive, look at how things are moving. Nothing is working out. It's affecting us. They are just borrowing money. What are you using the money for? Yet you come to other rural areas, nothing is functioning. We are suffering. It's affecting us.
Thank you.
So the nation needs to do something about this thing that's happening. It's not good. If you want person having billions investing in other countries, but come to the local players, nothing is happening. If we are suffering, if you have money, they are just borrowing. Just for them to share, and they maintain themselves. It's affecting us, sir.
Okay, thank you, Hilary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth, you are on a line of thoughts, and you did mention...
Yes, Ngozi Okojo-Iweala in Obasanjo.
We have another caller, sorry, you will continue. Hello, good evening, you're welcome to... This is Matters Arising. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Okay, my name is Hassan Sani.
Okay, Hassan Sani, go ahead. From where?
Yes, from Benue State.
Benue, okay, go ahead, Hassan Sani, make it brief. Make your comment very brief. You're welcome.
Yes, the other man said that there's nothing wrong with borrowing. I start to disagree with him.
Okay. Why are you disagreeing?
If you put your house in order, you will not borrow. The Chinese today are not borrowing.
Okay.
Do you understand? So, but in case of Nigeria, it is too excessive. Excessive. Borrowing for what? Why people are suffering? Borrow to buy, borrow to renovate the president's house or all of that. It's not reflecting in the lives of Nigerians.
Thank you.
Do you understand?
Thank you, Hassan.
So in Nigeria, so that is what I have to say.
Thank you very much, Hassan. That reminds me, you know, Hassan said, if you put your house in order, I'm quoting him verbatim, if you put your house in order, you will not borrow. And that takes me back to a country called Singapore. And I was discussing before we came on set with John Okoro about the Singaporean journey. When Singapore got independence in 1965, and then the Europeans handed over to Lee Kuan Yew. We all know the story of Lee Kuan Yew, how he took Singapore from third world to first world country. And Singapore has remained one of the few countries, including Norway, that has never borrowed. And Singapore is a first world country today. That's why you were talking before that caller came in.
Well, let me just continue from where Hassan, right, the last caller, where he said that he was accusing John, that John said there's nothing wrong. We, Hassan, if you are watching, yes, including myself, we all agreed that there was actually nothing wrong with borrowing. It is, what is wrong is, like you were mentioning, what the money is used for. All right, borrowing to pay salaries, borrowing to use to buy cars for the National Assembly.
Sorry, we have another
borrowing.
Call. Hello. Good evening. This is Matters Arising. Go ahead. Tell us your name, where you're calling from, and make your comments brief.
I'm calling from Mutunju, Taraba State.
Taraba State. Your name is what? What's your name?
My name is Emmanuel Njoko.
Okay, Emmanuel. Go ahead.
Please, I want to tell you people that for our president or for our country Nigeria to borrow money is not in good order. Because we have a lot of money that Sani Abacha had in our outside country. Now, which month or which did the past president Buhari tell the federal government or tell the federal government of Nigeria that how he spent the money that he collected from Sani Abacha? And we are just wasting our time borrowing money from where after now the current president and those on the authority will pack the money and put into inside their pockets, telling us that they are borrowing money from outside country. It's not okay.
Okay, thank you.
Supporting that Nigeria should no longer borrow money again.
Thank you, Emmanuel, from Taraba State.
There's something that I want to ask.
Okay, go ahead. It's your show. Go ahead.
They're supposed to seek something that will benefit the people that they are ruling. Every time suffering, they will say, now, if you make a call now, federal government have their own money. If you enter motor, they add fuel. Anything at all, they never think how can Thomas enjoy the ruling of the president.
Thanks for your comment, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Elizabeth, he's sharing this. He's disagreeing that government should not borrow money, and that's his view, because he's not seeing
he has a right
what
to
is being utilized, with the borrowed money,
yes, because
in terms of affecting his life.
A lot of people do not trust the government because I think they lack transparency.
There's a trust deficit.
Yes, definitely, So the kind of infrastructures, like one of the caller had earlier called to mention, like infrastructures like roads. Let's look at roads, for instance. It's rainy season. There are no roads in Nigeria. And when you hear this government tell you they have spent money, they have borrowed money to build roads, and you see how dilapidated, how the bad states of this road, you will wonder.
Do you know we have borrowed money? We have borrowed money from China to build railway, even Abuja rail train.
Exactly. By now, every state in Nigeria should have rail, going around the city from the level of the kind of amount we have borrowed. By now, if the 35, 36 states of the country ought to have rail transportation.
Let's even talk about the FCT.
Exactly. If you look at the FCT, at least officially, FCT has been in existence since 1976. Despite that, we know that development didn't start immediately. But as of today, it's abnormal that a city, Abuja is supposed to actually be a megalopolis by right.
Megalopolis.
Yes. However,
not metropolis.
Not even a metropolis,
right,
but a megalopolis. However,
with a mega status.
Yes. however, some of those things that make cities, metropolis, megalopolis what they are, you can't find them here, like the metro system of intra-rail system that could actually carry people from one point
to another,
like in London, anytime people, and ironically, our leaders visit all these great countries, and they see what's
going on. Your thoughts. They are just very valid. You are making very valid contribution.
The irony of
there
it
are
all.
callers, 3 callers. We have lost.
That's the irony of it all. The fact remains that they visit these countries, and they see these things. So, and they like them, and they use them.
Exactly.
And you come back here, you don't want to replicate what you have seen to better the lives of your people.
Let's take this caller. Sorry, all your thoughts there. Hello. Good evening. This is Matters Arising.
Good evening, sir. I'm engaging with DTAH Benue State, calling for the second time.
For the second time, okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. We appreciate the people.
Okay.
The government. We appreciate the work you do. We appreciate all the things that have been going on.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, by calling you people complaining about the loan you people have been going, it's not as if you're not doing work. You are doing it. But you know, any work that you are doing ahead of thousands of people, billions of people. Some of them will talk good things, some of them will talk bad things. To be sincere, to fulfill the promise of all the world, all the countries, is not easy. People have tried so much.
Thank you.
But come to think of it, the president have to put more effort in it. Because most of states, like we in Benue State, the benefit we need from the government is not by giving us money, because our state is a food real state. We do make money in our farms. So what we need from the government is, one, we need good rules. We need good rules that these people will be taking our food to the market. That's number one. Secondly, we need fertilizer. Third, we need a system from, let me say, agents of farm working. Because sometimes some of them, they have a large number of farm, but they don't know how to control it.
Okay, thank you.
So the benefit for the from government is just that they will do things. They should do things that will look into it and know that they are helping us by giving us, let me say, either loan or control good rule for us. We'll be happy.
Okay, thank you very much for calling.
All.
Thank you for calling. On the Abuja rail track,
I'm saying, you know, it's abnormal. No matter how it is, we look at it that a city like Abuja doesn't have a metro. We are just launching or recommissioning a kind of the lot 1 of a metro system.
Yes.
You know, the one that was commissioned recently by the president, and is going towards the direction. You understand? So, but as of today in this city, we are supposed to have seen a lot of, like we were mentioning, when you travel to all these countries, like in London, you have the Waterloo, you have the Victoria Station. These are underground stations, and people, Nigerians, when they come, they go down to the subways and use it to move from one point in London to other points in London, and they enjoy it. You understand? And we see the picture, but when we come back here, we cannot do it. So you know, like we are saying, it's about what you do with this loan. That's the issue.
Right.
You know, like we said, there's no country that's said that it does not borrow, but it's about what to do. And with this kind of amount of money that we borrowed over the years, I should see a lot of infrastructure in this country where even the citizens themselves can actually attest.
We ought to do better.
That we are doing well. But where is the money?
Where is the money? That's the question. Elizabeth, let's take this caller before I get back to you. Hello, good evening. This is Matters Arising.
Good evening, sir.
Tell us your name, please, and where you're calling from.
This is Arawahe from Kogi State.
Who? What's your name?
Arawahe from Kogi State.
Okay, go ahead with your comment.
The idea of borrowing money
Yes.
from the federal government to solve one problem or the other that faces the country. Not a crime. But the only thing I see there is that the money that have been borrowing like this is not well supervised. The reason why they borrow the money is not go there. If they can supervise very well,
Okay.
it will be very good for us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think the caller is talking about utilization of the funds.
Yes.
That's why I say it's not supervised very well. You know, that's exactly what he meant. Judicious utilization of such funds for the purpose of which it was sourced in the first instance. So here we are as a nation. Every administration, you know, makes it a duty, or it has become a culture or a tradition to source for loans from international lenders. And you know, Nigerians are complaining, all the callers are complaining. They are all in the same token that there's nothing tangible to, you know, to see on ground that would justify this humongous amount of billions of dollars that we source from IMF, World Bank, and even China.
When you borrow money as a government and use to buy SUVs that you will use, government officials that are supposed to be serving the people, all right? And it's from this borrowed money. And the citizens are watching. There's poverty in the land. You expect them to be happy about it. You expect them to call and tell you, oh, it's okay for government to borrow money when the government is not being transparent to the people. You don't, you definitely, they will feel bad. This exact way they are feeling right now is what it will be. Then you begin to wonder, how are this, when monies are borrowed and they are used to buy SUVs, where do, definitely we have deficit, the kind of deficits we are having already.
Well,
where do we get the
let's take a short break.
Money to service this deficit?
And when we return, we'll continue with the conversation on debt servicing and borrowing from international lenders. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. When we say on KAFTAN TV, imagine a beautiful world. We're not just bragging. We know our onions in the world of broadcasting. One of our outlets to express ourselves to the world is our flagship program, Matters Arising. Join veteran broadcaster Ruben Okoro and our crack team live.
And they give us a high price, and we just say, Nigeria, we ready?
As I said earlier, the lyrics is up, talking about the old new national.
On KAFTAN TV, Startimes channel 480 and 124, as well as NIGCOMSAT frequency 12518, symbol rate 29500. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. live. You can join the conversation by calling this phone number 0802-993-8365. It's dramatic and insightful. Don't miss it. Please join us. You're welcome back. And if you are just joining us, this is Matters Arising live from KAFTAN Television Abuja. And we are taking a look at external borrowing as well as domestic debts and their impact or lack of it for Nigeria and her citizens. Well, gentlemen, our callers are still calling, but I want us to take a look at the subnationals. When we talk about borrowing, many people have a fixated mindset that it's just the federal government that goes out to you know, cap in hand begging for funds in terms of borrowing. States also borrow. And I remember, with the benefit of hindsight, that last year, that's 2023, precisely in the month of September, monies were given to states, you know, under the intervention program of Central Bank, and it was called Salary Bailout Facility. About 457.17 billion naira was disbursed to states. 31 states benefited, and the list that was disbursed to states was about $14.47 million. That's Kaduna, and the highest was, you know, went to Imo State. That's 20.46 billion. I'm talking about billions here, and those monies were meant, you know, solely for the, you know, payment of salaries, just salaries for states. And then it comes to beat one's imagination that when you get money and you just pay salary, you have not injected that money into anything productive that will, you know, that will give you a return on investment, so that you can plow back, you know, in development, you know, developing your state. or your country, as the case may be. So it does not make sense to me that you borrow to pay salary. For goodness sake, what are subnationals doing that they have to go cap in hand to central bank? Central bank is not even, there's no central bank of the world that I know that gives out money just like that. It's like what in Nigerian parlance called dash. You're just dashing states billions of naira of monies that ought to go into productive areas, ought to go into, providing expectation of governance, infrastructural development such as schools, roads, those basic things that make a society, a thriving society.
I have to do that because yes, I
yeah,
have to do it.
I'm sure our viewers will be like
because when you juxtapose the level of profligacy, wasteful spending, and wasteful use of resources, indeed. And then you juxtapose it against, the biting poverty in the land, you just but wonder what is actually going on.
You're right. Quite
you just wonder what is going on. Because if you look at, while we're even talking about, borrowing and the rest of them, we are also amazed that nothing is actually coming out. Like you're talking about the states now. Why is Abuja overpopulated? Because there's nothing happening in states now.
Okay, let's take this one.
And yet this money is allocated to this.
Good evening, and this is Matters Arising.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Tell us your name, where you're calling from, and make your point, in a jiffy.
This is Mike from Barisa.
Mike from Barisa, you're on. The floor is yours.
Okay. You see, the issue there is this. If you keep on speaking grammar from now to the kingdom, from nothing will happen.
Okay.
There are principles that will put check on things. You know that we don't have in our constitution a law to put a check on any retiring officer for accountability. Unless somebody initiates it. That's why a governor can be 8 years and come down, no accountability to tell us what did you do with the money of the state, what did you do with the money of the federal government. Because there's no law to put a check like at Buharina retired. They're supposed to be, come and tell us how do you lose for 8 years. All the loans, all the travel, whatever you did, give us. Because when you enter, we handed over something to you. As you are retiring, you hand over to others, give us account. Are you understanding me now?
Yeah.
Hence that is not there. No matter how it is, that's why they are free to spend money on her. Who will call them to order? Just imagine a refiner say checking House of Assembly. Whether I think I read it. Say he's suing them.
Yeah, he's suing them. He's suing them yesterday.
Has he any guts to do so? Are you telling me he's the House of? I think I read it. Whether I'm called, he's suing the House of Assembly. Has he any right to do so? Because they are free. Nobody puts them to order. That's why you got in economics, you borrow money for investment, not for consumption.
Okay.
Because investment will return the money you will pay. But when you borrow to consume, where will you get the money to pay?
That's it. That's the question.
Somebody said something to me now. How the head of state of what Burkina Faso is equipping the nation. But our own will get money and go to Japan and go and buy SUV and give to the same people that rule for 8 years and maneuver and get to Senate. Another problem we are having is this. I pray that God will help us. We must remove the appointment of Chief Justice of the Federation, the Chief Security Officer, from the President's position. We must remove those things there. They shouldn't be the one to be appointing these ones. He will be using them as tools. I want to beg the security agents in this country because they are the problem we have now. The army and the police, they are the strength of these politicians. When we come out now, they are the ones that will kill us.
Okay.
Look at what is happening in Kenya. If not, who are they in the power there? Who are they? As Tinubu is there now, who is Tinubu apart from his occupying the position? If a small boy can beat him and say, come and tell us of our money, past governors, we will hold them on the road. We know where they are living. We know their family member. This is our collective effort. It's our money, it's not your own. You are collecting allowance for occupying that position. They give you allowance. The one that you for it didn't give us. And you just resign. Go ask. Nobody will call him to order unless the next governor who want to do something, they are the same. So that's the problem.
Thank you.
Who must see this office of appointment of Chief Justice of the Federation, Chief Security Officer, INEC chairman, must be removed from the president so that they will not be void to them.
Okay.
And all these security agents, and we are begging them, please.
Thank you.
They did not be supporting these political rules.
Thank
if
you,
they
Mike.
can withdraw, we deal with them. Then their eye will open. We
Thank
know
you,
where
Mike.
they are living.
You have made your
can't
point.
collect your own and take our own.
You have made your point crystal clear. Thank you for calling. He said they shouldn't be boy. You know, when you allow the appointment of such positions at the whims and caprices of Mr. President, they will turn to what he termed as boy. But, you know, I'm interested in, he mentioned El-Rufai's name, if you remember John and Elizabeth. When El-Rufai was governor of Kaduna State, he did apply through his senators to source for loans from IMF and World Bank. And Senator Shehu Sani then was senator representing Kaduna Central. He vehemently rejected that request, and it became a political battle between him and his estranged friend, who was the then governor. And at the end of the day, he was denied that loan. So El-Rufai, it became a political battle between the two of them. He ensured that as sitting governor, he ensured that Shehu Sani did not return, make it back to the Senate, and ensure that the guy that got the Senate seat, you know, did what he wanted, and he got the loan. Today, the thing it has boomeranged against him. And that is not very good for our country, because Shehu Sani said it was an inauspicious, you know, period, and the money was humongous. That El-Rufai, was accusing him of a ploy to leave huge burden for successors and generations to come. And to me, it's playing out today, because the present governor, that's Obasani, is saying after paying salary, he's left with nothing, you know, to develop the state.
With a great, huge burden, debt burden, incurred from the previous administration. You know, if you listen to the callers, I think the consensus here is that there should be accountability, probity, and accountability. Even the last caller mentioned about taking away the power of appointment of certain officials from the president. It's all about accountability. That's where the problem is. Because if you remember the ongoing controversy about the issue of ways and means, you know that the former administration you know, borrowed from the central bank, which is a short-term loan, but you know, it's now been shrouded in huge controversy. Ordinarily, if it were to be a nation where you have accountability, all those involved should be, at the moment, you know, singing to the anti-graft agencies, you know, about how come that they had to go against the law, and so on and so forth.
Okay, let's take this caller, and so on and so forth. Good evening, you're welcome to Matters Arising.
Good evening, how are you?
We are fine in the studios. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Ibrahim, calling from Zaria.
Okay, Ibrahim from Zaria, go ahead with your comments.
Yes, I mean, the issue of borrowing in Nigeria.
Yes.
I think there's nothing wrong with borrowing, according to what the other gentleman said.
Like you said, yes.
But the way we borrow is just too bad. Do you know that all the parliament in the whole world, Nigeria's parliament members, they pay them higher than any other one?
Yeah.
That is number one. Number two, a member of Senate was saying the other time that if a senator embezzled in billions, they should forgive him. But this is in trillion, they should jail him. Why should the members see that kind of a thing? In this country, we borrow money, we will not use it for what we borrow that money for. We'll go and use it for something else. It's very bad. And nobody will say anything. And most of these states, they collect their own revenue. They have a way of generating revenues. What do they do with those money? We don't know what they do with the money. And yet, they still borrow. And some states cannot even pay their workers. Like Kaduna State now, sometimes they don't pay according to the month, which is very bad. There are a lot of roads in Zaria here now where I am staying. In Zaria here, we don't have roads in some places, in most places. And they are collecting revenue on daily basis. It's just too bad.
Thank you.
Masses are suffering.
Thank you,
Thank
Brian.
you very much.
Thank you, Brian from Zaria. Elizabeth, you are eager to...
You know, the governors actually, until, I don't even know when that will be, when they will be able to like nail a particular governor. Giving account, as in come and account for how you during your reign, your regime, how you spent and all that and all. Because, okay, where is Yaya Bello right now?
Well, I don't know.
It's nowhere to be found.
Do you know where he is?
No, I don't. I don't know where he is. That's what we are talking about. There should be there should be accountability. But when? One of the callers was saying something about the fact that accountability is not.
Yes, that's what I said.
It's wrong from the Constitution. This is why we keep saying that if the Constitution is a challenge to us, let's do something about it. After all,
it didn't fall from heaven.
Right? It was written by Nigerians for the interest of Nigerians, for the progress of Nigerians.
Yes, that's right.
If the Constitution is not right for us, let's come together again and do it in a way that things will be done appropriately, where there will be transparency, where there will be accountability, and everybody, you know, the resources, the commonwealth of the nation will go through everybody, will go around everybody. Then this poverty and pain and suffering will reduce. Going back to the state governors, look at, have you been to any government school lately? Whether primary, secondary, or even state universities, or even federal universities, how dilapidated they are, how terrible they are.
Let's take this call. Hold on your thoughts. Good evening, and this is Matters Arising.
Hello?
Hey, hello, good evening. This is Matters Arising.
Good evening, sir.
What's your name and where are you calling from? Elizabeth?
Yes. So what about the public health centers? Same thing.
Same thing.
There are no infrastructures, no even lights, to even get lights.
Yet monies are borrowed to do them.
Yet monies are yearly, annually. Monies are allocated to health, to education, to all manner. And at the end of it all, we don't see, there is nothing to show for it. That's the pain of the people. There is nothing to show.
Is calling back. Good evening, you're welcome. This is Matters Arising.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Tell us your name, where you're calling from, and make your comments.
Yeah, my name is Mr.
Mukhtar, you're welcome.
Calling from Adamawa State.
Okay, Mukhtar, you're welcome.
Yeah, Sakur from Adamawa State.
Sakur, okay.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
The problem we have is our leaders.
Okay.
They don't,
We have lost the caller.
Elizabeth was, referring to the sectors.
Yes.
Coming from the sectoral angles. If you remember that some of these borrowed funds were actually sector specific.
Yes.
In terms of this money is going to this particular sector, education, power, and the rest of them.
Yes.
Now, but if you now take a review of these sectors, will you say that we have seen the impact of these loans on this sector?
No.
That's what everybody's saying.
No, we haven't.
She was saying.
We haven't.
Yeah.
You see, in Nigeria today, you see basic education, primary school, as far as the public sector is concerned, is dead.
Yeah.
Most people now send their children to obtain basic education, primary and junior secondary, private schools.
Private schools.
It's only very few
and the
private schools.
The tuition is so exorbitant.
It's high. That is some of the problems.
And the private schools are having a field day.
Who owns the schools?
So,
even
in the health sector.
Most times, yes. Government officials.
In the health sector.
Can I tell this caller?
It's all right.
Okay. Good evening. This is Matters Arising.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Sakur calling from Adamawa State.
Okay, you have called earlier on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The problem we have here is our leaders.
Okay.
They are not with us. We have voted them into office. We believed in them. We trusted them. But they have failed us.
Okay.
There are a lot of people today that are finding it very difficult to survive life itself. One major thing is the government of today. They came with a lot of promises.
They always
Everybody is looking at them.
everybody is going through a hell at the moment.
Okay.
There are so many students, parents, that have their children at home today that they could not have even school fees to pay for their children. And then another problem is the accountability. There's no accountability in this government. In fact, our leaders don't account for anything.
From time memorial.
They do anything they want to do, and nobody holds them responsible for whatever they are doing. That is why, because they get away with it, now everything they think they can do at any time.
Okay.
And this problem today has gone down to even the grassroots, because at the local government level also corruption is trending everywhere in this country. Look at the case of Rivers, where two giants are fighting just because all of them want to control the state or the resources within the state. And then people are dying. They appropriate money for health, education, and then they don't. We only hear them talking about budget, but we don't see anything.
Okay, thank you.
Look at the university; they are threatening to go on strike again.
Yeah.
Why can't they go back and settle their problems? Settle all these things.
Okay.
We are suffering.
Thank you, Shaku.
We are suffering.
Yes. Well, government is listening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have another caller. Let's take this caller, then we'll come back to Elizabeth. Good evening. Matters arising. You're on.
Good evening, dear.
Good evening. Tell us your name.
A concerned citizen. I just called. Please, I want to use the opportunity to beg our security agents. They are our brothers, they are our sisters. Please, all of us are suffering.
Okay.
Let them stop supporting these corrupt politicians. Let them not be selfish. Many of them are trying, because they are risking their lives. Honestly, the security agents in this country, God will bless them all.
Okay.
The work they are doing is very, very great. God will bless them. God will give them wisdom. God will protect their families.
Amen. I say amen to that.
They're sacrificing their life for us. Yes, security agents are really doing great work in this country. The police and the soldier. God will bless them for us, honestly.
Amen.
But you see, these politicians are trying to give them bad name. So we want to beg them not to support these politicians that, there are governors that don't even rule in their own state. Some of them are in Abuja. They don't even move around their state. Security agents are blocking everywhere. And security, they have their brothers and sisters living with us. And they go to the same market. If they rise up, like look what is happening in Kenya now. Look at what is happening in Kenya. If the security agents, their brothers and sisters, we all are feeling the pain. Let them stop supporting them.
Thank you.
Let them give them gas small. Let's not touch them. Let them touch them small. Let's touch them. Because look at the town hall meetings, the way we used to do in our communities those days. If they give you a position you didn't know where, they will call you into their town hall. Give us account how you manage our money. If you didn't do it, they deal with you, they disgrace you, disgrace your family. And that's the way we used to do it. It can also happen. So I'm begging the security agents in this country, please stop supporting these corrupt politicians. That's why they are doing as if they're anything. They are not academically higher than anybody. Okay. They are not stronger than anybody. They are not more knowledgeable than anybody. Just because of little opportunity they have, and security agents are surrounding them. Please, I'm taking them.
Thank you so much.
God will bless security agents, but let them withdraw small.
Thank you for your call.
Let me not use that word for them. Because
please don't use the word. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
People are suffering in this country.
Thank you. Don't use the word. Thank you. Nigerians are bitter. Nigerians, you can feel the pulse of Nigerians, and they are all speaking in the same vein that things are not good. Things are not good, and the government is just 1 year, just celebrated 1 year, and look at how there is a policy somersault, so to speak, with regards to so many policies of government, including this topic we are interrogating today.
Nigeria's debt system is bad. We are undergoing bad debts. The security agencies is talking about How well fare are they? How well, are they faring? How well is the government of the day, or even the past government? How well did they take care of the security agents? That's why you said they are giving them bad name. Yes, because they have families also at home that they need to go to, that they need to cater for. They have wives, they have children. So if their salaries are not good and or even paid on time, so how do they meet up all of this? So as a security personnel, you have to fare well. You have to be satisfied. When I say satisfied, not hungry before you have energy to do your work, to perform your duties.
My worry is that when you borrow, a borrower is always a slave.
Right.
When you borrow, you are not able to pay. You are now tied to the apron string of the lender.
Yeah.
He decides. That's why they tie those loans with conditionalities.
Yes. Just like Chinese, like we were saying,
exactly.
Chinese that will do they write in Chinese and we sign. We don't even know exactly what it is. We don't even know what we are signing and what we are agreeing.
Time constraints, I think going forward, I think the best thing will be to, appeal to those already in power and to those who also aspiring to come to power, that they should just have a rethink and shouldn't see public office as another avenue to become rich. You understand? Rather, it is an avenue to serve. And once we have that mindset, once there's that renewed spirit, that renewal of our spirit and our psyche as people, as citizens, as leaders, at that point we start having visionary leaders, like you mentioned Lee Kuan Yew and the rest of them. There are so many of them we can actually mention here, who can actually project, see ahead, and plan for the country, and then selflessly serve the country and make sure that every single resource or resources that this country can actually afford, whether it is informed, whether it is borrowing, whatever, that is utilized, in such a way that the citizens can actually say that yes, this is it. I think that is my appeal. That is my appeal. Okay,
my parting shot is that why should a giant of Africa like Nigeria, that is endowed with so many things, be borrowing? In fact, God has placed us in a position that we can even lend to other African countries.
Yeah. Right. Well, for me, I think as far as Nigeria is concerned, leadership is our problem. And just like one of the caller had earlier said, that our leaders are not on the same page with us. I think they should, so that we should be on the same page, and they should work towards making the country better off.
Well, that's all our time can allow on today's episode of Matters Arising. Thank you to our esteemed viewers and vibrant callers for making the program interactive. On behalf of our producer Ruben Okala and the entire production team, I am Maucauley, Hunohashi saying good night and see you next time.
I am John Okoro. See you next time.
And I am Elizabeth Sam-Sedi. Have a good night.
And as we say on KAFTAN TV,
imagine a beautiful world.
Bye-bye.